Check, check, check. Check, check. Alrighty. If I can. Let me see here. Yeah, definitely don't need the ISO that high anymore. Me just fixing some things, and got our tuning drone going on here, and I now have the problem where here, hold on a second, let's get this going. Okay. One other thing I have to do real quick that I almost forgot about again. I always forget to get the chat going. Just checking the chat there. Everything looks good. All right. So, this drone is actually for tuning purposes. So let me just get this handled real quick. Hopefully is this view just going to be my back the whole time? I might have to fix that. Let's see. Let me sit down so I'm not just blocking the view the whole time. I did not account for that. I might have to move the camera because that's not a good view for everybody. All right, let me fix that. Here I was trying to be pragmatic and get like a nice head-on shot of the modular, but fact is, it's just going to be the back of my head if I do that. So let's do something more like this. Angle down a little bit. Over. That looks pretty good. We can pull up back a little as well. There we go. All right. We'll work with that. Or not. If I accidentally unplug the camera. My gosh. Oh, jeez. All right. Okay, let's double check the feed here. think we should be good again. I just need to make sure. Waiting for the lag to catch up on my end so I can see this. Yeah, alright, good. Okay, sorry about that. So, let's tune here. So my thought was, we'll get everything tuned. We'll run through what we did last time, just so you can hear it, because I think some of it I developed off the stream. Alright, so a little flat here on this oscillator. The system should be up to temp. I actually left it on overnight just so I wouldn't have to warm it up in the morning. Not the most efficient thing in the world, but you know. Alright, so there's that. Oh, this one's super sharp. Tuning the two oscillators that work as kind of the bass voice in this patch at the moment. Alright, that sounds better on that front. Now let's check these. There's 2 bass oscillators and 4 melody oscillators basically for how this patch comes together. So the melody side tends to stay in tune a little bit better. These are the tip-top Buchla oscillators. They tend to be pretty stable. The bass oscillators are the what was once Danny Sound. I'm forgetting what their new name is now that they renamed the company, but they're the 2 Danny Sound complex oscillators. So it's the Cali and the I always forget the designation. What is it on that one? EN129. So it's the Cali oscillator and the EN129 on bass, and then 2 of the dual complex oscillators from the tip-top Buchla line that are doing the melody parts. So, but yeah, those are pretty much in tune. I don't even really need to change those. All right, so let's just real quick run through what we did last time, and do let me know in the chat if all the levels are sounding good. Alright, so we'll stop that, and let's go ahead and just listen to where we wound up. This was the piece that we wound up with last time. I did a multi-track of this yesterday or the day before so that we could pull the whole thing. So this is what we wound up with. When I did the multi-track, I did change the way the channels were routed to the mixer a bit, so the mix is a little bit messed up from last time. I fixed it as best I could, but I didn't want to spend too much time on it. Bring those melody oscillators up a little bit, though they're a little quiet. So our 2 sends, in terms of the effects that you're hearing on any of this stuff, it's really only, I'm trying to think, make sure I'm not lying when I say this. No, so everything's running straight to the mixer, and then there's one stereo send goes out to Starlab for some gooey reverb-ish stuff. And then the other send B on the mixer goes out to Vino Echo, which is clocked both channels are clocked a little differently, so it has some kind of back and forth a bit. Something sounds like it's distorting. Is that in the mixer? Yeah, they are pretty hot, I guess. Anyway. But so with compositions like this, sometimes I'll keep it pretty straightforward for the composition, and then when I get to the final mix stage inside the DAW, that's when I'll kind of go a little bit crazier with, you know, giving the whole thing a vibe, so to speak. Like I kind of know where I want it to go and what I want it to sound like, so I build the bed for that when I'm building the patch, and then it gets extended further in the actual mix. We have this build, and then kind of, when it comes back around, it's sort of a mix of the motifs. I don't think I'm going to do it today, but I do want to do a stream where we use these various patch deck and patch card game cues. I also have Brian Eno's Oblique Strategies here, which I find I don't really get stuck very often when I'm composing, so I have yet to break those out. But I'll probably dig into that at some point. But yeah, this patch is really simple, honestly. We have the 4 oscillators that are the melody component. Those send out to, do we go directly to the mixer? Let's just check here. All right, no, so obviously not. But we basically, so we're running to this low pass gate, which is a 4-channel gate. That's being controlled by this envelope generator here, which also has 4 channels. All of that runs out to the mixer. Just double checking my, yeah, so everything goes into the data first. All right, let me, so we don't have just, things are gonna get a little ominous now for a bit, because I just have Onoroi like set up droning away here, but I just don't want, you know, no audio, so this will be our background while I explain the patch. So yeah, that runs into data so that I can tune everything easily. And then out to the mixer. The 2 left and right channels of the mixer run to these surge variable slope and variable Q filters, which are being modulated. They are being modulated from this LFO up here, which is why do I forget? CubeSynth. I have, this is like my little CubeSynth section up here. I have their LFO, their complex oscillator, and their BCA F, if I remember. There's a filter built into that, I believe. Honestly, I use the LFO the most. It's just a 4-channel LFO. I like it. It's very simple, but it works well, and I like the visualizations of everything. I like the oscillator. I just haven't spent much time with it. I need to either break it out separately and learn it better, or something. But and then the filter I just kind of use in conjunction with the VCA filter I use in conjunction with the oscillator. But yeah, so those are all kits that I built. I do recommend them. They're good modules, and pretty inexpensive from what I remember. So anyway, the LFO is modulating these filters. These are actually, I built these too. A lot of this system, I would say like half of this system at this point are kits that I built, and then the other half are, bought modules. But I do err on the side of kits if I can, because I prefer to build the modules. I mean, you save money, and it's also, you just have a better understanding of the module to start with when you can do that, in my opinion. So like this whole Danny sound section here, that's all, I built all that. Yeah. Anyway, not patting myself on the back, just explaining that there's a good portion of the system. All the clock utilities there are kits. Up front, I guess there's not as much, except, there's like a shack mat corner over here that's all kits that I built. And then on this side, there's a lot of stuff. But again, it's interspersed. Like all the Patching Panda, I say all though, there's really just the moon phase. But this whole section here, all the RYK stuff. I say Reich, but I think that's wrong. I think it's RYK. But RYK, the moon phase, these modules here, these pretty much almost all the 4MS stuff, with the exception of the SWN and the SMR, are kits, because they make most of their stuff available as kits. So yeah, no, I think that's accurate. And then, yeah, I guess this side has more kits involved, because all of the Turing machine stuff and expanders, those are all kits. All the Making Sound Machine stuff is kit. Not so much on this row here. There's the helium malt, which I really like. That one was a little kit. And then there's a music thing drive, the dual drive. That one is a kit. Anyway, you get the idea. A lot of kits in here. I did not build Honoroy from a kit, because a lot of people said it was a pretty tricky build, so that one I bought just because Bufacco kits can be pretty intense in general, just because all the parts are pretty closely spaced and things like that. So anyway, so yeah, that it basically is. Sorry, I went on a tangent about kits, but it's basically those 4 voices, being controlled, typical VCA style, but in this case it's a low-pass gate, right? Yeah, that's a low-pass gate, a quad low-pass gate. And then the stereo mix of those goes out to these surge filters that are being modulated, which gives you that sort of swishy stereo thing that's happening in the melody lines. And then the 2 bass oscillators are just, let's see, I think they just run straight over here, and then into the Expert Sleepers Ivo. I have basically like 2 general subtractive voices here from the Expert Sleepers modules, because my only complaint about those modules is just tuning and general pitch tracking for Lorelei, which is the oscillator. But as a bass thing, they sound amazing, and that's what I was using originally. But then it was just too hard. I was really struggling getting them tuned consistently, because it's basically, the way they work is there's an octave switch, and then you have kind of a full step range within there. But I just, if I'm trying to be really accurate, which I needed to be for these because this was originally a patch. This patch started out as a transcription of a Vince Guaraldi tune, actually, just to see if I could do it on the modular. That was over like back in December at the end of the month. So it was like a Christmas thing. And then I just kind of built off of that into this patch, which then I worked through that composition with. But man, this patch has been up for like, I mean, in some form or another, this patch has been up for almost like we're edging on the end of month 3 now. So I'm really eager to tear it down and move on. So I multi-tracked all of it. But anyway, point being that it's just those 2 bass voices then, and then there's the drums, which is a mix of the 6 Mod 6 and the Steady State Fate Ultra series. So it's the Ultra Kick, Ultra Perk, and the Metalloid percussion, and they just kind of complement each other. The patterns that are happening there, they aren't like doubled up necessarily. In some cases the kick is doubled up, but a lot of times it's alternating. And same with the snare, and I'm using the Metalloid kind of as hi-hats, but they're like weird hi-hats basically. So, and beyond that, it's just the 2 sends into Vino Echo and Starlab, and a lot of clocking of everything so that it's all in sync, and that's it. NerdSeek is doing all of the sequencing with its many expanders as well. So yeah, that's the patch. It's actually really, really simple, which you can kind of tell when you look at the panel. It's not strewn completely with wires to the point where you can't even see what's happening. So yeah, I'm gonna pull these channels down so we don't get any noise while I do this, but we'll let Onoroi just kind of drone on there in the background. And in case you're wondering, the way that I multi-track all of this is I have the DB25 expanders for the WMD PM MK2. So this is the Mark II performance mixer. Got it last year sometime. And boy, is it good. I mean, I really enjoyed the original. That's in my live rig. And yeah, this one sounds fantastic. So anyway, let's tear this down and start something new. See what we can do here. Whoop. I need longer headphones. Sometimes when I pull patches, I kind of go through, because a lot of my cables are color coordinated by length, so I'll go through and just kind of pull certain length cables first. And oh wait, actually I don't want to do that. What am I doing? No, the clock utilities I don't really want to mess with. So that's the other thing. I have to, like, hold on. I'm going to turn a light on above the modular just to get a little bit of extra. And I think I will turn on the video lights too. Hopefully this doesn't blow out the video feed. We'll see. I just need a little bit better light so I don't oh, are these? Oh, these might actually just be switched off. There we go. Yeah. I forgot. But this one... Okay. There we go. Oops. Yeah, Onoroi is a lot of fun for just ominous things, ominous drones and such. I mean, that's just like, this is not, I don't even have anything going on with it. This is just, it's straight kind of like just what it does out of the box. Alright, so I think I can, pardon me for a second while I change the ISO here. Oh man, it's still at 1200? Jeez, why? It's still awfully high, but let's go with that. Alright. Now we should be good. How's everybody doing out there? Hope you're well. This wacky, wacky world of ours. Alright. I think that's all of those. Put them back. Sorry, I'm just my big old shoulder in the way there. Alright. This. Oh yeah, and that's also worth noting too for that thing that we were listening to earlier. I was actually only, the 4 melody voices were only being controlled by 2 envelopes. And the other 2 envelopes, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, let's see. How did this all come together? Oh, maybe not. I don't know if I don't know what I was doing with the other 2 envelopes. I think maybe I had them all controlled separately originally, and then I decided to blend them because of, I don't remember why though, but anyway, yeah. So and there's a lot of like portals in this system so that I can patch across without needing insanely long wires. So there's the rack plumber here and another one here, and those go to counterpoint modules here and here so that I can patch from the middle here to the middle here, or the outside here to the outside there. So anytime I have patch cables running to these, it's because they're coming out on this side and routing to somewhere else on the other side of the modular. These are actually, this cabinet is set up to basically be 2 separate, fully independent instruments so that when people come to the studio, I can like have jams with folks where they're controlling their own half of the modular. Doesn't happen as often as I would like, but it's a possibility. It's what I built the system this way for. Just have a hard time getting people out here. But, you know, such is life. People are busy. And then this, I malted these outputs for when I was multi-tracking, because I didn't want when I did the final mix, I didn't want to be restricted to just a stereo blend of those 4 melody oscillators, so I took all of the independent feeds and ran them to their own channels and handled it that way so that I could have a little bit more control in the final mix. Alright, so this is clock and reset here. Alright, yeah, anything coming out of this extra mullet here is going to be clock and reset. That's the same for anything coming out of here. So we will leave those alone. Yeah. Okay. I will not remove any of the clocking because I'll probably just have to redo that if I do that part. So for whatever reason, the pulsar, which is essentially like a gate sequencer, that's not clocked right now, so I might want to fix that. But alright, so I will focus for now on module outputs here. Oh, and it looks like oh wait, no, never mind. The proximity is confusing me. No, that was a straight gate out from the NerdSeek. So the quad VC, or sorry, the Quadrax here, there's a quad VCA right next to it. The Quadrax here was what was controlling the envelopes for the bass voice, so that's why those are patched kind of across the modular there. I think for today, I don't think I want to do another like strictly composed kind of composition thing. I think I'd rather do something a little bit more generative. But we'll see. See where we end up here. First things first. Gotta tear down first. Alright, so that's... And some of the Ultra modules, the Ultra Perk and I think Metalloid both. Yeah. Am I lying? Actually, maybe it was just the Ultra Perk, but they have attenuated modulation of some of the parameters. So Oct was doing the modulation initially, and then it's being attenuated in the motion meter down here, and then sent out to the modules. So evil. Oh, I did miss one of those. Jam it in there. All right. We're getting closer. Alright, so on this side, I think, let me just verify. Yeah, a lot of this remaining stuff is clock stuff. So if I remember correctly, I think the way this is all working is the NerdSeek is generating a clock. So this I might have to change if I'm not going to use it as the basis for the composition. But it's generating a clock, sends that clock out to the 4MS clock utility stuff, that gets distributed around, and then one of the channels, one of the like 1x, meaning it's not modified at all, channels comes out from this port here in the rack plumber to the multiplicand, and then that gets distributed around. One of the places it goes is a PAMS, original PAMS, not the Pro or anything. Well, I guess PAM's new workout, not the original PAMS, but yeah. Oh wait, did I just... what am I doing? I just removed a clock. Just take the clock out of there for some reason. Where did that come from? I don't know. I'm just going to put it here. I don't think that's where it came from. I'd have to look. But yeah, so then everything is clocked off of that. Whenever I'm pulling patches, that does get a little tricky to try to not pull like clock as part of that, but it's fine. I just have to not be yammering away and actually be paying attention to what I'm doing. Yeah, and then, okay, yeah, so there was also other modulation from Oct getting pushed through the duet there to be attenuated. So there was modulation on, I think, both of the Ultra Perk and the Metalloid modules there. Alright, so I'm not going to pull Onodoi since that's what we're listening to right now. This is also clock, right? Yeah, but this is our delay output, so we can get rid of that. Okay. And then yeah, so right now the NerdSeek is the source of... Sorry, I'm just realizing that the Stolper Beats was running and now it's not. Was that because I stopped? It might have been because I stopped this. Yeah, okay, that's all that was. Alright. Yeah, so right now, NerdSeek is the clock source for everything. Maybe what I want to do, maybe I want to use it just as, either just as clock in general, or as like a drum sequencer, and kind of leave the melody stuff up to something more generative. I don't know yet. I have to think about it. But here's all our patch cables. So the patch has been taken down. I'm going to spend just a moment and hang these back up, because this is a few too many to wear around my neck or something. Should I give you some kind of like 4 on the floor to this drone so that it feels a little bit dancier? I mean, I could, I guess. Right? So if I take more triggers, and that's a little short. Just take out one of the pink ones. Trig. And I think the output probably reaches with just one of these, if I'm not mistaken. Channel 1. No, that's a little tight. Let's not do it that way. So then let's oops, sorry. Banging the mic. Alright, so I think I need to... I'm starting fresh with a new project here on the NerdSeek. I think I have to... I always forget which menu these things are in. I need to... Oh wait, there it was. Track assign. Yep. So 7... is... I don't know what I just did. How do I go back? How do I get out of here? Alright, that's not what I want. Alright, I guess I just leave the menu, huh? Alright, project. Alright, so then there we go. No, I don't want I2C, I don't want MIDI. Trigger 16. More CV. Okay, that's a good start. I don't know if that's where I'll leave it, but... So... I like to leave 0, 0 as sort of the empty pattern for when I want things to align properly. So let's go in here. Oh, did I do those backwards? Oh no, I somehow didn't save that when I changed the configuration. Go figure. Let's try again. Trigger 16, CV16. Oh, yeah, set. I should have known. Alright, so now that's reset. That's fine. So now if we go in here, there we go. So if I almost. There we go. Alright. Now it at least sounds like something's going to happen. Let's get these cables back. Oops. Lost one. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Almost ready. Tell you what, it gets awfully warm in here with this thing. So during the winter, I often don't even turn on the heat in this room. I just Turn on the modular. Okay, we're nearly there. Just sorting a couple more lengths here. Alright, so these ones are going up here. This one goes in this batch. Got one straggler there. All right. Just about ready to start patching. Goodness, already an hour in. Haven't even really done anything yet. All right. I'm gonna grab some water and then we'll start patching. Figure out what we want to do here. Lost the cable. I don't allow liquids this far into the studio, so. I have to go out to the front room if I need a refreshment. Okay, so I feel like I'm in the mood to work with the Turing machine a bit. Now, the way I have the Turing machine routed in the system, most of it is over here, like it with the this is the main module, obviously, and then there's the expanders. But the gate expander is over here, along with the regular kind of trigger outputs that I use from the NerdSeek. And the idea there is that I can have like a beat and then some randomized stuff from the Turing machine kind of mixed in as well. So let's play with that. Let me grab couple. So let's go with the B trigger from there. Let's just see what this even sounds like. I have no idea. So take the mix out. Okay. I think in this case, might be interesting to also, in a similar fashion, trigger the 6 mod 6 hi-hats. Come over here. But that's okay. Now, one thing I'm noticing is that if I was going to use the main sort of pitch and gate output from the Turing machine, since I'm using gate 1 for the metalloid here, then that's going to actually trigger every time there's a note, which is a bit of an odd thing. That's not really my favorite. So what happens if what does this sound like? Okay. And then maybe let's use div skip, and we'll derive kind of a similar thing for the snare. So let's take our input. And let's see, what length do we need for that? So we'll take out A to the trig on the ultra perk. So really, let's see what we can. Oh, whoops. That's why. I was accidentally going out of the duck output. So then, let's take the B output from div skip. And we'll take that to the snare in on the 6 mod 6. Take the snare out. To start, I want to see what it sounds like if we make those stereo. Meh. Let's move these down. And let's place this in its own channel. Pan. Cool. All right, this is an interesting start. So now, think what I want to do, I think I want to take the main gate and pitch out from the main Turing machine module, and I want to send that into Symfonian, and then from there figure out some destinations and some relationships tonally. If you can bear with me for 1 second, I'm just gonna switch the cables for the output from the mixer because they're a bit long and it's kind of annoying to have them routing in the way of cables. I mean, in the way of faders. I must have been low on cables when I did this. I don't know why else I would have done that. There we go. Alright. Sorry about that. That's better. Now they're not dragging through the faders. I don't like stuff like that because then if I am trying to make adjustments, I get hung up on a cable, that sort of thing. Boy, these are jam-packed in this rack here. There we go. Okay. So we'll go with 4 will be the gate, 3 will be the pitch, and we'll go here to channel 1. Okay, so trying to decide what I want the bass oscillator to be and whether or not, like, do I even need the gate to follow over to that side? Yeah, I guess I should probably mult the gate for that one. Actually, I guess I should mult both. So let's actually take that. We're gonna mult the pitch, and then we're also gonna mult the gate. And then we'll go from there to the Symfonian. Remember, there might be a way for that stuff to just be normaled inside the Symfonian. I have to spend more time with the manual on that. It's been a minute and I kind of forget a lot of things. there's, alright, so we've got our channels there. So I think I am going to need to think about this for a second. Alright, let's take channel 3. We're going to use that as our base voice. So send, that's not going to be long enough. I really need to get myself a wireless headset with a mic. Alright, so output, go up here. Oh, I'm knocking cards down. Fix that. In this case, we'll take the gate and we'll just bring it over to this side. I'm going to take that into Quadrex. Output of that is going to, I need a shorter cable. Output of that will trigger yeah, we'll just go BCA, get the release down a little bit on that. Slightly longer cable for the pitch. So pull per octave to there. And then let's start with, I guess I'm going to start with the pulse out. We'll take that into the filter. And then take the output of the filter into the VCA. And I, of course, for some reason patched that into the wrong input. So, alright, CV in should be here. Alright, and then from there, we'll go to a mixer channel so we can hear this. And let's just see what we even have. I don't really know what this is going to sound like yet. Let's, alright, we don't have a good gate on volume there yet, so. Okay. Alright, hang on, let's alright, so this should be C2. And now we're probably gonna see, this will probably be a good example of what I'm talking about with Lorelei being a bit of a pain to tune. but let's see what we've got. So I'm going to take this sign out here. Oh, it's not long enough. All right. Sign out. We're going to center the shape. Come in here to channel 1. Alright, so it's B1 right now. It should be C2, so we'll come up. Alright, there's C2. Sure is jumping around for no reason. There we go. Okay, so let's take this out of tuning mode. Trying to figure out there we go. All right, so Alright, it's a bit weird, not really there yet, but let's see what else we can get going. I think I'd like to use Magneto as Whoop, cable's not quite long enough. I'm gonna go magneto for the aux2 send, because I want to see what this bass sounds like with a little bit of tape delay kind of stuff happening. Might be too much, but it might be interesting. This back on channel 2 for this half the mixer here. Okay, so then let's also so now the clock for this, I think I want to slow the clock down a little bit because I would like some slower divisions. So let's see which clock we're using. Alright, so that's 5. There we go. All right. Weird. Now I'm going to take the CV out, and let's have it. So the cool thing about Persephone, which is the VCA I'm using right now, is it has a CV output, so you can actually take the input signal that's controlling it and then pull that back out for another use. So you might start to see why I like these Expert Sleepers modules for bass. They sound pretty great. Now I think I want to take a slow LFO and modulate the shape control. Let's see what length. I think one of these might be good. Actually, alright, so let's take the shape here. Take a slow LFO out of Oct. I would also like to modulate this. I think I want to. I don't want to take all the slow LFOs and just tie them up with stuff. So I think I want to malt this one. I'm going to take the slowest LFO out of Oct and malt it. That was kind of an interesting crescendo-ish thing there. So I'm going to malt that out of, through helium. And then I want to use one of those to slowly adjust. Actually, I want to take that through an attenuverter so I can pull it down to kind of a minimal adjustment. So I'll send that into Duet here, and then from there I want to take that. We're on channel 6 here, so I want to take aux 2 level for channel 6. We'll set that unipolar. Might be a bit much. Hey, Subby. How's it going? Oh, hey, man. I didn't realize that was you. I saw you subscribe like last week or something, but hey, cool. Good to see you here. I'm just doing like a weird generative thing. I'm not really sure where it's going yet. Haven't pulled any melody in yet, but it's just weird generative bassy stuff at the moment. I mean, you know, your studio is not so shabby itself, you know. You give me a run for my money. I like a lot of times I have the thought like, oh man, I wish I had X, and then the next video you post, it's there in front of you. It's like, oh man. All right, let's see. So just to kind of catch you up on what's happening here, there's like just a 4/4 kind of kick thing, and then everything else is the Turing machine with its weird gate out stuff. I might be overdoing it. I might have to pull it back and kind of get something reined in here. Maybe the snare especially, because that one's just... Let's see, so, but I mean, I kind of like it has like almost these jazzy runs that it does sometimes, but at the same time it's a little bit much. But I wanted to bring in some melody bits first, and then so basically it's the main output from Turing machine over here is running to Symphonian. Right now the bass is off the 3rd channel of Symphonian, and I was just about to add some reverb for the drum aspects, and then bring in some melody of some sort. I might reverse the order of that, but because I think I need to hear what the melody stuff sounds like with it. But this feels like it'd be cool for like a breakdown in something, but as an entire piece it's no good. But we'll start here, and then I can work through how to kind of break out. How are the levels? Is everything good? Let's see. Oh, and also the snare is also off of the random gate outputs, which that module is over here. It's connected behind the panel. But basically, it's running through div skip, so it only gets some proportion of the triggers that actually come out. I should actually correction. There's 2 snares patched in right now, so it's the Ultra Perk and then the snare on the 6 Mod 6, and then those triggers are being split among them. But I'll probably end up doing a different distribution. Alright, let's get some melody something happening here. Oh, and the bass voice is Expert Sleepers stuff. So Lorelei for the oscillator, Ivo for the filter. I'm using Quadrax for the envelope because all the Expert Sleepers envelopes are weird. Oh. Hang on a second, looks like I dropped off the chat for a second. Did I miss anything? Oh, cool. Glad to hear levels are good. Sorry, it looks like I lost my chat connection for a second on my phone. See, like I like when it does that stuff. It just goes on these runs for a second. But all right, so let's get some melody. Yeah, I guess this isn't the most peaceful, calming background music. I don't know if you're working at the moment, but. Decisions. All right, man. Thanks for dropping in. Cool to talk for a second. enjoy. Alright, so gonna get a longer cable. Probably gonna need to tune this once I patch this all up. So I'm patching up one of the Buchla oscillators to the mixer. On that side of the case, we'll run that mixer here. And let's get... Is that going to be long enough? Maybe. Let's get longer. Should be good. Oh, I see. It's tuned real low. Okay. Alright, let's go. Let's tune real quick again. So C2. Let's get the other output here. Half range. So let's pull it up. Cool. Alright, so now let's check. Alright, well, this is interesting. Alright, let's add so I think what I want to do is I want to try to think through the best way for switching over between like a sequence and then this sort of randomized, but also that's kind of fun. I haven't been locking the Turing machine at all. Now the thing is, my Turing machine has always been a little finicky around locking. Like it will usually just change on its own even when I have it locked at some point. Like and for whatever reason, the controls, I could only ever get it to either work like that or just like lock and barely have any variation. So that's always been a thing with this, but all right, so this is kind of a cool sequence. Alright, well let's set up a second oscillator for the other melody part. Tune. Okay. There's slew on this? What's going on here? There we go. Okay. Well, this is weird. All right, so let's just let it randomize for a bit. The other thing I need, not long enough. The problem with a monstrous synth is cabling. It's so hard. I never have. I'm always grabbing things that are too short. Alright. Or too long in the case of this now. Alright, so my Symphonian has a problem that I have not fixed yet. And let me CV1, not assigned. Let's change that. There we go. So my mode button on my Symfonian just doesn't work. Wait, did that stick? Yeah, okay. That's right. We're in CV1. And yet, mode does not appear to be changing. That's bizarre. Is something else also assigned to it? Oh, that's why. Okay. I forgot I did that. I also assigned, I later assigned pot 1 because they're assignable. So let's say none for that. Now we should, there we go. Finding a tonality that I like for this. I like that. All right, so now here's the problem I would like to solve, and I need to think about whether or not I actually have the right modules to be able to do this. I would like to be able to switch over between a sequence on the NerdSeek driving things and the randomized stuff from the Turing machine driving things. I could do that with enough VCAs, which I should have here with this bank. Then I have to think about what is the switch that flips them, because what I'll want is, you know, some number of outputs available with one setting and then switching that so that we, because what I want to do is I want to kind of use the Turing machine bits as almost like fills. But before I do all that, let's patch a reverb in. I'm just going to use Starlab. It's still kind of my go-to. I mean, I could use C-Legs and like use the fog control as the reverb. You know what? Yeah, maybe I'm going to do that because I really do enjoy C-Legs. So, what length do I need? I need something shorter. 6 will be the aux sends. And then I guess the other pair will probably be the returns back to the mixer. Alright, so there's that. Is going to be our left in. I actually can use shorter cables than this. Let's do something shorter. I also might, like right now there's no filtering or anything on this voice, it's just straight. We'll see. I might want to change that. Right, the first channel 5 will be the left in. Channel 6 is the right in. They're a little tight, but not too bad. Take 7 and 8 as the left and right outs from the module back to the board, or I say back to the board, but back to the mixer. Oh, whoops. That needs to be 1, not 3. so let's I think what I want to do bear with me for 1 second. Alright, so then let's... I don't know, is this long enough? Yeah, it should be. Alright. Alright, and so let's do that same thing with the other envelope. Oh, it would help if I used the right side. Actually. wonder if the variable slope filter is working correctly. Weird. The slope side seems to work, but unless I'm misunderstanding something there. So what happens? Okay. There we go. This didn't have enough harmonics in there. All right. Alright, so this is weird and random. So now let's think about how Alright, let me think for a second, because I want to think how I can switch everything over. Probably the easiest thing to do would be to use something like the tetrapad and basically have let me see how many we're working off of just one pitch and gate output right now for all of the bass and the melody stuff, and they're kind of just in relationship to each other. So I have a bank of 8 VCAs here. So I think the strategy would maybe be a little bit weird, because it would have to be like stackable cables. Where there's like multiple inputs from different VCA outputs running to both the pitch This is an interesting problem to solve, actually. There's probably better ways to do it than what I'm picturing here, but I mean, like a switch obviously would be really good, but I only have one. So in lieu of not having enough switches, basically, to do this properly, what I'm picturing is maybe alright, hold on a second. I need a break from this. Oh, it just keeps going, doesn't it? Alright, and what happens if... Alright, so we can go back to our... This is my thinking music here. So I think... what I'd like to do... I mean, if I was just going to handle... let me think about this. So right now we have 1, 2... We have 4 triggers that need variations. So I could use the bank of 8 VCAs as basically one giant switch for those 4 triggers, and then use the actual switch for the melody and gate portion. But the problem with that is I actually want to handle more cases than just that main, like, so what I would like to actually do is have each of the oscillators, so there's 3 oscillators at play right now, and I would like to have each of them be able to switch off between the input from the randomized stuff and then the input from an individual track on the NerdSeek, so that I could basically prep something in NerdSeek and then kind of like just hit a control. And I would have to make some kind of macro to make this work, which I do have ways of doing. Also could potentially build something in the meta module that would do this from like on a switch or something, but it's a little finicky to do through the UI on the module itself. That would be better set up as a patch and then load it in. I'm just trying to think what other things. Like I have crossfaders. I have a lot of stuff, but I don't have a lot of like logic utilities, and that's what I need here. I do have a lot of adaptable modules that can become logic utilities though too. Like I'm pretty sure I have 2 disting MK4s and then a disting EX in there. I'm pretty sure each one of those could be a switch. Although I'd have to break out the manual because I can never remember what's what in those. Now, out of curiosity, too, if we do this, and then what if try to figure out what's going on with this channel, because I don't know about you, but I can't hear it. I can just barely hear that. That's weird. Alright, well anyway. I just wanted to hear what it sounded like if I wanted to hear what it sounded like if the 6 mod 6 and the Ultra Kick traded off. Okay. So yeah, this is like a logic / computing problem here, kind of, because what I would like to do is I would like to be able to have a trigger from the NerdSeek that flips essentially a switch, and that switch causes voltage to go high, which drops out all of the sequence triggers and brings in all of the random stuff. That would be my preference. So let's start by just creating a trigger first of all to see if this can work in the first place. Like if I can get some longer cables. So let's start with this one here. And I actually, I haven't used this switch in so long, I forget how it actually works. I thought that was the, oh, okay, so no, it's more like a gate high is what switches it? Is that the idea? Interesting. How do we... Oh, well, right, okay, so that's our input, and then this is switching between the outputs. But then, just out of curiosity, how is that controlled? Is that... Okay, so it's basically like a high voltage, so if there's a gate that's held high, that's going to switch both of the outputs. Alright. So just a trigger is not going to do it. So what I could do instead, along the same lines, maybe take like channel 6 here. Is that even long enough? I don't know. So then if I go into and we just put a note, and then go off. That should, if we play through, right. Okay, so now we have a track that controls that switch. So from that, of course, the closest mult there is already all filled up, but so if I take let's say now the thing that I can't remember is if this switch will work in both directions. I think it will. So I think those can be inputs or they can be outputs, but I'm not 100% on that. But I would like to take them as inputs and see if that works. So let's start by saying that the first input here is pitch and trigger from the NerdSeek. And then the second input, I just want to sort of prove out this concept first before anything else. So the second input, it's our pulse, so that's going to be our gate. Need a long cable for this. So this will be our gate. And we'll run that to the pulse. I guess I didn't need quite that long. Let's see if does green or black work better. This might be a more reasonable length. No sense wasting the super long cables when I don't actually need them. Yeah, there we go, that works. Alright. So we're gonna, this is like just proving out this concept here first before I go all in on it. So then, pitch. So then let's take what I'm hoping will operate as an output. Patch that in here. And same for this. Alright, so now this, if this works, let's start up here. Alright, so now looks like it's the second half of the... Alright, this is just proving out this concept. So, now, we've got... Alright, so let's pause this for a second. And now let me think about building up the next half of this, which would be to switch the drums back and forth between something randomized and something steady. Like a, you know, a pattern versus something random. I only have about 25 more minutes here. I'm gonna wrap up at 2. So I got some stuff to finish. But let's see what we can do here. It's been a minute since I used tetrapad this way, but I know that in the right mode, and I kind of have to remember how it works. So that's not the right mode. That's just wackiness. Yeah, see, I'm gonna have to remember, I'm gonna have to check the manual again, because what I need tetrapad to do is I basically need it in the voltage mode where each pad is I essentially need it so that each pad is going to output separate voltages when I like, so that they work as a button and it's split into the 8 quadrants. And at the moment I am blanking on the controls because I don't have it set up that way currently. This is the problem with having this many modules, is if you don't use them constantly, they will leave your brain. Also, I'm not sure if I want to do it that way anyway, when when I think about it, because it should basically be essentially just like a gate high. And then that should probably be inverted, like malted and inverted, so that a high gate in one capacity is a low gate in another. And then that can just flip the VCAs so that we have a set of 4 triggers in one case running to the randomized stuff, and a set of 4 triggers in another case coming from a pattern, and they just flip between those. Hold on. Yeah, really, I need more switches because this is what the switch is for, you know. All right. Well, so this let's listen back to what we have happening here. This is really just proof of concept. This is not a good melodic example or anything. So what we're currently doing is it's flipping back and forth between the outputs from NerdSeek, which currently isn't outputting anything, and the random outputs from Turing Machine. And that's based on a high gate on channel 6 of the NerdSeek. Out of everything that I have here, probably the most sensible way to set this up for the drum triggers is either with the meta module or with Disney. Alright, well, you know what? I've got like 20 minutes. I don't think I'm going to get that sorted without breaking out manuals and stuff. So I think I'm going to just have a little fun for the last few minutes here. Oh, whoa. Am I missing a bunch of chat stuff? Yo, I'm sorry. I missed chat things here. 1 second. What did I miss? wish I would have caught you, Brian. Sorry. I'll have to give him a text. Darn. Alright, well anyway. Let's see. Let's unmute this. So I think for the last few minutes here, I'm just going to have a little fun and improv over this thing with guitar. Because why not? Because I don't think I'm going to have enough time to set up the rest of the switching, but we'll get there. I will do that in the time off of the stream here. Oh, you know what? I'm totally off screen if I do this. Hold on a second. Let me switch the view. Alright, so let me just switch this real quick. That was quite a delay there. Second, just setting up a view here so that we can see things a little bit better. Alright, let's transition that in. Alright, that looks good. So, I don't know how well this will work because it's a bit of a random sequence to be dropping over top of, but I think I like that about it. Let's see Alright, hang on a second. I think I need to pull the volume up just a bit. It's not fully competing with that bass there, so 1 second. Try that. This is tricky because even there's like no steady rhythm. Alright, well, that's fun. It's a little bit too periodic and random to... I mean, it's fine for... It's kind of fun to try to follow along. Well, alright. That fun was short-lived. It's a little bit too weird to try to follow along with that. I mean, it just is kind of the same thing over and over again. Try to think better ways to break that apart so that it's the kind of thing where, like, when the rhythm section is doing that, like, you need some variation to happen. Otherwise, it's really hard not to just kind of do the same, like, call and response thing over and over again over top. Let me switch views. Boop, 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 boop. Alright, well, so I think what I'm going to do is let me just... There we go. Alright, so I think I'm going to end the stream here for today. Bit random, but conceptually this is kind of fun. I think what I want to do is I want to explore, obviously kind of off stream in my own time, because it's no fun just watching setup, right? So I'm going to work out how to switch the triggering back and forth between the randomized stuff from the Turing machine and then the NerdSeek, because I just need to work out which modules are the best choice for basically being a glorified switch, because any of these, like, you know, the distinct and all that sort of stuff, meta module, all that, like, any of those I'm fairly certain can just operate as a switch, and I need, I think, at least 4, possibly 6 to be able to alternate back and forth between the randomized drum patterns and something programmed, essentially. And then on top of that, because I don't want to just stop there, I want to have more fine control over, excuse me, the bass and melody parts. So I'm going to want to right now, what's happening is the main pitch and trigger outputs from the Turing machine are getting split out by Symphonian and, you know, spreading there. It's basically malted and then kind of running to all that. What I want to do instead is I want to swap the inputs to Symphonian between a programmed thing from NerdSeek and the malted Turing machine outputs, so that the idea is basically, I mean, this is a pretty complicated setup just to be able to drop into kind of these randomized fills almost, but that's, I think it could be interesting if I can kind of tame it a little bit and figure out a way to use it so that, you know, you could have a composition and then just at certain points it can break into sort of this random stuff. that's the kind of sort of control that I like to implement with the modular, so that you can have kind of these tightly composed things, and then also this just random, just generative stuff. So I think what I'll do is I'll work through that, and then in the next stream I'll kind of explain that breakdown, and I'll play with it. If it turns out to not be a concept worth exploring, then I'll probably drop it and we'll move on. But I think it could be interesting to build that and then kind of compose with the ability to drop into randomization as needed, because it's quantized randomization with pitch relationships, because everything's running through the Symphonian. So I do have the capability of turning that randomization into something a bit more controlled that can sound kind of nice. So, it can be used as kind of a randomized fill. But anyway, that's just the initial thought process there. Yeah, sometimes working out the details of these kinds of things can take me a while. Just because I so often land on pretty straightforward patches in terms of how I work with the system and stuff. I don't do a lot of like, oh, well, what if I patch this to this? What happens then kind of thing. So, when I come across a problem like this that I'm trying to solve, I sometimes have to navigate the system a little bit to figure out, okay, well, what's the best module to serve this purpose? What I really should have and don't have is just like a bank of logic modules in here somewhere, because then this would have been extremely easy to solve if I had that. But since I don't, I have to get crafty, and then it's kind of like, okay, let's, how do I create a switch that can control multiple channels at once, that sort of thing. So that's what I'm going to do. And we'll work through it that way, and then on the next stream, I'll either have that to show and I'll break it down and we can kind of go through it and figure out what it's like to compose with that ability, or we'll move on to something else. But at this point, I multi-tracked everything that I had tied up on machines in here, so I'm ready to move on. So the other thing I might do next week, if I find that this concept is kind of a dead end, I might end up just working on a composition on the other half of the room on the rig. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you spending time with me today. And again, my usual PSA, if you are in the United States and like me, you do not like what's going on here, please use your voice. Bug your representatives, your senators, your congressmen. Be sure to be calling them, telling them how they should proceed, and not just that, but like, we gotta really push back on this stuff. We're in a bad way here, and I do think that there are a lot of people who are upset, and I do think that there are a lot of people banding together against this stuff, and I think that's positive. I know I'm not trying to, like, the reason I save these kind of messages for the end of the stream is because I don't want to be political on this stream. I don't want to alienate people. I generally do not discriminate, based on those kind of values. I want this to be an inclusive stream. Not tolerant of hate speech and things like that, obviously, but in terms of like whether or not you support general Republican or Democratic motives or whatever, although to me those two parties are basically the same thing at this point. But my whole argument with everything that's happening here right now in the U.S. is that there's a lot of stuff targeted towards very specific groups of people for their beliefs or their choices, be it or they're just their situation, their life experience, be it, transgender folks, people of various religious persuasion, all that sort of thing. And I feel very strongly that the only way we're going to make it on this planet is if we learn to coexist, and if we can do that peacefully. And boy, are we not succeeding at that right now, and that's especially being perpetrated by the administration in the United States and such right now. And it's not a good way to be. And I think that as long as, for any unassuming person out there, if they're not forcing their beliefs on people and stuff, I think they should be allowed to just live their life and follow it the way that makes them happy. As long as they're not hurting anybody, that's your prerogative. All that stuff, like gender identity, sexual preference, religious, spiritual preference, all those things, that's just general, that's living at this point. Those are things that are so ingrained in our day-to-day. I don't think anyone should be persecuted based on their status in that realm, or their position, or their opinions, thoughts, any of that stuff. Again, as long as you're not hurting anybody else, you're all good in my book. So, I also believe in autonomy of thought and stuff. So, I think some people out there go based on the argument of there's influence that can influence other things and stuff. It's like everyone's capable of making their own decisions in life, and everyone needs to get in touch with what is right or not for them, but that doesn't mean that other groups of people have to cease existing. So there's room for all of us, and we're human, so we're all a bit wacky and different, and that's kind of what brings us together when everything's working well. So we are more the same than we are different, put it that way. But yeah, so on that note, thanks for taking the time on this rather lovely spring day here in eastern Pennsylvania. Been a while. We actually have some sun today. It's nice. I guess we did yesterday too, but it had been a while prior to that, and the weather has been very strange. Today it's a little bit warm. This thing is heating up the entire place, so I get sweaty. I'm going to take a break, get some water, get some food. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one. Stay safe out there. Love you all. Bye for now.